There are many cities and towns in Ohio that have had similar histories, economies, and subsequent declines, and from an outsider's perspective, they aren't really that interesting. But sometimes you find something super cool that's been hiding in plain sight the entire time. For instance, the pottery capital of the world, and that is the town of East Liverpool. East Liverpool was founded in 1798 by Thomas Fawcett, an Irishman and Quaker. It was originally named St. Clair after the former governor of the Northwest Territory, but the few residents there adopted the name Fawcettstown to honor its founder. In 1816, the name was changed to Liverpool to honor the city in England, but the prefix East was added to distinguish it from an existing township in Medina County circa 1834. Now, the economy had the potential to benefit greatly from its position along the Ohio River, about a mile from the West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio border and about 40 miles downstream of Pittsburgh. But by far, the most abundant resource in the area was yellow clay, and the Native Americans were responsible for showing this to the incoming wave of European settlers. Many small potteries were opened in those early years, but none of them survived. Then in 1839, James Bennett, an entrepreneurial potter from Derbyshire, was making his way down the Ohio River in search for areas with clay suitable for starting a business. He stopped in Troy, Indiana, where he set up shop for a few years, and
we're on to Cincinnati,
where he didn't like it very much, and was on his way to Pittsburgh when it was suggested he stop at East Liverpool to inspect the lower Kittening yellow clay the town had to offer. And boy, was it good. By early 1840, a one-kiln factory was built with the name Bennett & Brothers Pottery, and the potting commenced. During that time, John Goodwin and many other potters opened up kilns alongside Bennett. The kiln operated for 5 years and saw modest success, but was at a financial risk of being washed away by the floods in the Ohio River. So in 1844, Thomas Croxall purchased the company and moved it to Pittsburgh, where it became known as the Queensware Works. James began suffering from potter's lung in 1846 and was forced to retire. But in those short 4 years, many small potteries opened in East Liverpool alongside the Bennett and Goodwin kilns, and that started a fire. Literally. You had Vaudreuil Pottery, Pioneer Pottery, Palissy Works, the D.E. McNicol Pottery Company, Dresden Street Works, Buford Pottery, Salt and Mere Pottery, and dozens more. Businesses opened and closed like a revolving door. The name Harker was used for 8 separate pottery firms between 1840 and 1972. The city landscape was dominated by these large kiln smokestacks. In those decades spanning the turn of the century, East Liverpool had 85 firms outputting 67% of the nation's pottery. The biggest player in the pottery game was the Homer Laughlin China Company, founded in 1896 and expanded in 1899 and 1901. It was the largest pottery manufacturer in the United States, sporting 58 kilns and over 1,800 employees, responsible for over 25% of tableware sales in the country. And this booming economy brought in a variety of people, many of which helped build their traditions into the community through their own non-pottery related businesses. The Ceramic Theater, which is so eloquently named, was built for $150,000 in 1904 and was the second largest theater in Ohio. The Crockery City Brewing Company built a large plant in 1900, costing $75,000, capable of producing 30,000 barrels of beer a year. Many of the grade schools and high schools in the late 1800s had classes with majority female attendance, as many boys as early as middle school would be off working at the potteries. Those that did graduate would often go to college. The 1939 Classical Revival YMCA had multiple weight rooms, running tracks, health clubs, and a large pool. There was an efficient streetcar system that eventually connected to Wellsville in West Virginia. During World War I, the National Guard would often perform drills on 6th Street, and 300 residents ended up going off to war. The town also had many odd crossover events. Cy Young played for the local baseball team in 1890 at the start of his career. Charles Pretty Boy Floyd was shot near East Liverpool, and his body was displayed for the public at a local funeral home. The town population peaked at over 26,000 in 1955. In the late 1960s, the pottery industry started to fold, with cheaper production and labor overseas. And while strip malls were going up in nearby Calcutta, many pottery plants like McNicol were coming down. Many locals looked elsewhere for jobs, such as the Crucible Steel plant in nearby Midland, but that too closed in 1982. The city needed a large corporation to step in and make East Liverpool its home, injecting life into the economy. And in 1977, that opportunity became a reality. A $90 million plant was commissioned to be constructed in the East End along the Ohio River, which was fantastic news, except for one underlying issue. This was a hazardous waste incinerator owned by Waste Technologies Industries, and it was being built 1,100 feet from an elementary school. Protests commenced immediately, but the city council vote was split 4-3 on the plant. The 1980s marked a decade-long battle between residents, local government, and WTI. In 1984, Ohio enacted a new law that prevented any hazardous waste management facility from operating within 2,000 feet of any prison, school, hospital, or residence. But WTI was granted the permit to build just weeks before the law was instituted. And in 1990, the company finally had the approval it needed to begin construction and run tests. In 1991, citizens from multiple states boycotted EPA public informational meetings, attempted to block EPA hearings, and on October 13th, in a rally led by resident Terry Swearingen, 1,500 people, including 700 residents, an Ohio native and renowned actor Martin Sheen rallied outside WTI, of which 32 people were arrested for crossing the property line, including Martin Sheen himself. Local newspapers referred to Ohio Governor Voinovich as a weenie on waste due to his neutral silent stance on the issue. Citizens began sending the governor hot dogs in the mail and brought footlong franks to his public appearances. In 1992, the campaign continued. In July, the Clinton and Gore tour bus stopped in Weirton, West Virginia, and promised to make the WTI plant a forefront concern for their administration. 32 people were arrested on November 20th for blocking the gates of WTI, followed by 75 more arrests on the 22nd. In December, 20,000 signatures in opposition of the plant were delivered by hand to Governor Clinton's Little Rock office. Hearing no reply from Clinton, the residents took their protests to D.C. Greenpeace, the same organization that protests the Gavin plant in my Cheshire video, organized a Pinocchio bus tour to the White House where they built a small mock incinerator that released fake emissions, leading to another 54 arrests. And after this, with the Clinton administration remaining silent for the most part, the WTI plant was granted a full hazardous waste permit in 1997. Although the Clinton administration eventually passed a reform on government regulations regarding toxic waste incinerators due to the fabulous work by Terry Swearingen, WTI remained an exemption. Since that time, WTI is now Heritage Thermal Services, and the battle to move the plant continues. In July of 2013, an explosion at the plant sent a cloud of ash with high metal content floating down over the East End, covering cars and rooftops. The cancer rate in the city is the highest in Ohio, 615.8 per 100,000 people compared to Ohio's 450.4. The town also has the highest concentration of manganese in the country, with levels often 30 times higher than what is considered safe. The plant was also built in the most impoverished part of the community, leaving residents with little control of where they can go. There are several lawsuits still happening this year, filed by Sierra Club, Earth Justice, and several local environmental groups claiming that the incinerator is releasing harmful PFAs, or forever chemicals, named for how long they stay in the human body. And even if this incinerator never existed, East Liverpool is plagued by a terrible drug problem. The combination of poverty with lack of opportunity and jobs close by has sent the city into a downward spiral. Today, just over 10,000 citizens remain. Looking at this photograph from East Liverpool's heyday is almost like looking at another world. The beautiful brick factories and towering kiln smokestacks are things I've never seen before in a city, and I really wish they were preserved today. Most of the original downtown strip land has been razed to make room for the Route 11 expansion, which cuts very close to the river. The main downtown area has since migrated further north. The Crockery City Brewery still stands, abandoned and definitely full of bees. John Goodwin's kiln also stands. In fact, it's one of the only kiln smokestacks in the city. The elementary school next to the incinerator is also in disrepair. But the heart of the city remains with the people who keep it alive. And now I'd like to take you with me on a short journey through the town and its current state. And as always, keep exploring.